Hey Nerf Herders, I'm Addy Thomas.
I am Ben Milton.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Certain Point of View. Today we don't have so many news stories. We're not going to spend a lot of time on the Oscars. We'll spend a little bit of time on it. I mean, I don't think our opinion has ever really changed about the Oscars. And then, of course, we have also the past week in TV, and we also missed talking about the gifted 2-hour finale from the previous week. So we'll catch you up on that.
I swear I still remember talking about it.
That's because we talked about it individually, because that's how much we're fans.
We just didn't record when we talked it.
Exactly. So it's just one of those things that sometimes real life gets in the way of the show, or the show gets in the way of real life, and it's just,
I can't tell the difference between the two anymore.
So we'll get into all of that, but I just want to remind you to go to our website, certainpov.com.
You realize that means that we've become what we hate.
What?
We've become reality TV.
No,
I can't tell the difference.
No, first off, we can tell the difference. Any sensible people can tell the difference. But oh, God. Well, you better talk to J Mike.
Tune in next week.
You can check out on our website. All of our podcasts are there. Another Past, Gruffy Nerf Herders. You can rate, review, and subscribe to all of them, or the ones that you like. All of that, again, certainpov.com. And let's get right into it. Well, actually, before we get into it, so I finally got into the final season of Black Mirror.
Oh.
Because I finally finished the previous
Welcome to a dark new future.
Well, so I literally like less than an hour ago, I just finished the Star Trek-y type
I like
episode.
that one.
Yeah, because that was the season premiere. Mm-hmm. So here's the question as it applies to us. Does that episode now make you feel bad for dark side decisions you made in SWOTAR?
No.
I knew you were going to say that.
No.
I knew you were going to say that. But now think about all those children that you made starve at different times because of different decisions you've made, or refugees that were caught and killed by the Sith, or, I mean, all sorts of terrible, truly terrible things that you did.
Yeah, but for 99% of that game in that story was just AI.
Yeah.
It was like he was playing in a closed off personal universe. He wasn't playing in the same universe that you and I would be playing.
Yeah, but that doesn't excuse your immorality.
Sure it does.
It does?
Sure it does. Because I'm just screwing over AI. Like
they're AI too.
Well, they are. Yes, they are. In an advanced, but they're an AI. They're a self-aware AI.
Yeah.
Like, the question is the AI in SWOTAR or Warcraft self-aware?
But
is old Blanchy self-aware, Addy?
Does that make it any does it make it any worse if you kill them?
Yes, because then you have to start feeling guilty about I stepped on an ant, or like you have to draw a line at some place. Otherwise, we do end up down that slippery Buddhist slope of all life is precious. And it's funny because I just read an article.
There's my turkey achieve at Howling Fjord.
Right, where you just
massacred them.
Yeah, and then you helped me do it too. So you not only
did
it
that's a
once.
Pretty satisfying achieve.
So you not only did it once, you did it twice.
Serial killer.
You were awful. And in real life, I've seen you eat. Yeah, I read an article this week that said that there is a group of scientists who are now thinking that there's the possibility that all, not just humans, but everything has a form of sentience to it. Like even rocks or this table or this microphone all has some semblance of sentience to it.
Well, if the Force binds all things,
Right, and that's where I was. I was like, oh, see, we knew this all along. If you're a believer of Star Wars as I am, then this is obvious.
Do you think there could be a point in the future where, because AI, let's say is sentient, that people look back on the time in video games where we just massacred NPCs for loot, for marks to turn in for rep in World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
And look at that as a primitive practice?
If we are able to prove that the computer program that we have written has a sentience, then then that would have to be, you would have to consider that as an immoral act.
Yeah.
Now, is it immoral if you don't know? Or does it only become immoral when you recognize the fact that, oh, this thing does have sentience to it?
Well, now we're veering into territory where this isn't.
We need Rob Bell to figure this out.
Well, I was watching an interesting. It's the YouTube channel Wisecrack. They get to like philosophy of different like pop culture stories.
Okay.
And they were talking about the difference between the nihilism of BoJack Horseman and Rick and Morty, and sort of the existential versus cosmic nihilism. It was really sort of interesting.
I'll have to check that out. That does sound good. That sounds right down my street.
Oh, yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, it shows me like, because I like BoJack better than
Rick and Morty.
Rick and Morty. As much as I love Rick and Morty, I still feel like there's a reason certain characters are nihilistic in the way that they are. It's not necessarily a defense of nihilism. Whereas the existentialism of BoJack is very different in terms of the way everybody kind of approaches it and treats it, and is sort of a bigger question of how we all approach life, and find meaning in it.
Right.
So it made me like immediately think that like if there wasn't so much good TV on, I would rewatch BoJack.
I know that there's just so much. There's so much good TV on. So I had the flu this past week. I mean, I was seriously ill. Speaking of nihilism and existential crises, at one point in time, I was so sick, I was actually contemplating my own death. Of like, okay, like if this is it, like, what do I want on my tombstone? Like, what do I want my last words to be?
You were complaining last week about like, oh
my legs,
the weird sensation. I see I might not see Ben next week.
Yeah, no.
I gotta say something really cruel to leave him with. He'll know. He'll read between the lines. He knows how we really feel.
And what's funny is that you didn't.
Yeah, I didn't.
You didn't really say much. You just were like, all right, well, good luck.
He could be dead.
All right, well.
Would I really want to continue this podcast without him?
Yeah. That was your existential crisis. I'm like, do I really want to do this? Do you think it would work with Case or J Mike? The answer is yes. Probably much better. In fact, probably J Mike and Case should take over this show. And it would work much better. But I was like, oh, I wish that I had finally gotten that tattoo of luminous beings are we.
Oh, right.
That would be like my last words. But I was so sick, and I was just like, no, I don't want to live anymore. This is awful. I felt so bad.
I would say your patron saint was the patron Saint Leia, and bring up that picture of
with
Saint
her
Leia with
the stupid Ewok.
Yeah.
I know you would. Nobody would believe you, though.
I think plenty of people would chip in to have an army of little people dressed up as Ewoks.
I like how you went politically correct on that.
Yes.
I appreciate that. It really means a lot. Thank you. Yeah, you'd need an army for my fat ass of little people to drag me around. Those poor guys.
They'd have the log, like just logs. They just push your coffin over logs.
We should keep moving the log to the front.
It'd be in theme with them.
It would make sense. It would make sense. That would be kind of cool if you just then took me to a funeral pyre.
Yep.
Just
dressed you up as Vader and burned you.
Yeah.
I'll let Jenny know.
I'm actually okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm actually okay with that. But
can you do that though?
Like, no, that's completely illegal to burn a body like that.
Well, so could are you with an actual cremation? Could we dress you up as in a Vader costume?
That's an excellent question.
Because I just get a $30 one from Party City. But,
yeah, just a mask.
Yeah,
because that's really all you need to see is the mask.
Yeah, you just want the moment of it crumbling and like setting
melting
on fire,
onto my face as I burn.
Yeah, now that I think about it, it is much worse than I imagined.
Yeah, no, it's not a good sight. Not a good sight. I'll be dead, so I won't mind.
Yeah, I know, but it's not as fun as old Vader playing the harmonica, there's a lot of fun associated with that.
Yeah, but that's still when he's alive. You need to cherish the moments you have with me, Addy. That's what I'm getting from this. You need to appreciate.
All right, let's get into the actual news now.
All right.
So, wrestler turned actor John Cena is in negotiations to star in the title role in Duke Nukem, a big screen adaptation of the popular video game franchise. Here's the bad news. Michael Bay's...
that's not the bad news?
That sounds actually kind of fun.
No, actually, that really works.
Not that it's
really
going to be
well.
a good movie.
No,
but it's a Michael Bay produced.
Nope, I'm out. Check, please.
I think I can move on to the next story. So the announcement of the 2018 Oscar nominations brings both good and bad news for superhero fans. Bad news is Wonder Woman was completely snubbed. And I mean, that's not really out of the ordinary for any superhero movie. But it didn't even get any sort of nods in terms of visual effects or makeup or sound or any of those types of categories that sometimes these movies get their nods in. And you would think with some of the politicization of that movie, you would have gotten some of those nods.
Okay, well let's go through that real quick though.
Sure.
Like, were the special effects anything we haven't seen before?
I think makeup, you could make a case for that. Look, Suicide Squad took home
an Oscar for makeup, yeah, but there wasn't anything that we hadn't seen. But in fact, like you say, Gal Gadot looked pretty. That means, how much makeup do you need?
Well, that being said, like it's not like every movie that carries home a visual effects or a makeup, or costuming type of thing innovative.
No, but there was nothing. There's nothing about this movie it stands out to me as a Oscar word. Like sound, the sound. There's nothing bad. Sound design is good. Yeah. Everything about this movie is good.
I thought it was a good looking movie. That's
why I think looking movie. It is a good directed movie.
I think makeup and costume design. I think here's the thing. I mean, the place where I would make the argument for that for makeup and costume design is the fact that this movie happens in sort of three realms. You have like sort of the fantasy realm.
Yeah.
You have the trenches of World War II. You have London. And they make all of those aesthetics still work in the same movie. And that's honestly a pretty difficult task.
And her costume is pretty amazing. Yeah. But again, like okay, and I will give you the Themyscira to modern World War or modern
World War I.
World War I,
comparatively modern,
right? Yeah. Scenario like that is impressive, but like if you've watched any Sword and Sandals epics, like we've seen, like again, all this stuff is good. There's nothing. I'm not shitting on this movie.
No, I know,
but I'm not. But there's nothing about this movie that says Oscar to me.
Yeah,
nothing.
Yeah, no, I don't think this was a.
I don't feel like there's anything in this movie that is Oscar worthy.
Yeah,
nothing.
Yeah.
Not even on these second tier Oscar awards. It's not that they did a bad job, but we've seen it all before.
Well, let me finish up sort of the superhero takeaway from the Oscars, and let's get into the bigger discussion of it.
Go ahead.
So what we do have is the only thing that got a sort of significant nod was Logan. It got a Best Adapted Screenplay nod, and outside of that, there was some. That's a big one.
That's fairly big for a
superhero.
For a superhero, yeah, because the Oscars are never going to give any kind of significant award to a superhero movie.
There were people wanted
Best Picture.
Best Picture. That was never going to happen. Best supporting actor for Patrick Stewart. That seemed more like a legit possibility, but obviously it didn't happen.
It could have gotten Best Picture.
I don't know about
what's
that.
it again? What's it going up against?
Again, you're talking about the Oscar crowd.
Agreed. Yeah. But like, if you're going to be completely objective about it, it was one of the best movies, period.
Yeah.
Of the last year.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I think it was. Yeah. Definitely within superhero movies. I think
even
it was the best
movies.
Last year.
Even movies. It was fantastic.
Yeah. I know Star Wars took some nominations, mostly in the visual effects and sound mixing categories.
Right.
So, so now bringing all of that into the picture, I mean, I think it makes sense. Like, I think the Logan nod makes sense in terms of Best Adapted Screenplay. I think that's kind of the closest we're ever really gonna get from the Oscars. I think at the end of the day, the Oscar voters are not the type of people that superhero movie. They're not. They're the kind of people who aren't fans of superhero movies. It's kind of like,
they look
Jodie
at it as
Foster
pulp.
and all those other different people who commented at different times that they're
ruining
really
real film.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why movies that sometimes don't get the widest distribution is going to continue getting it. I think. Obviously, The Post got a bunch of nominations,
and it's a great movie.
Is it? I don't know. Whatever.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
I don't think that's fair. That's obviously what's happened. And it's been that way forever. Yeah, and I think you're right. I don't see it changing anytime soon, and I think it's why post a Cold War, you see people caring less and less and less about the Oscars, the Grammys, and the Golden Globes and stuff like that, is because this idea of how important the self-importance of the Oscars and all that other stuff becomes less important as time goes on, as we've kind of moved past what made them important to begin with.
Do you think that that sort of like the thought of Hollywood royalty is pretty much dead now? Do you think there's still do you think there's even bits of that that's still?
Oh, in Hollywood for sure.
Yeah.
Hollywood thinks it's true. I think that the rest of America just kind of doesn't care as much anymore. I think we're still fascinated by Hollywood. I think we're still fascinated by celebrity,
but not in terms of making them royalty the way.
Right, the Kardashians kind of broke that glass ceiling for everybody, and made that a believable achievement, even though it's not really. Yeah, that anybody can take a picture of themselves and become a superstar.
Yeah, and now with the accessibility of social media and people sort of
that is happening. Yeah,
creators.
That is happening. I mean, that's what we're trying to do. It's a different world now. It's a different game now, and Hollywood, still wants to hold on to that old vestige, and that's what the Oscars is in my mind. Is that old regime holding on? Sure.
All right. So the last bit of this. Bit of the news section for today's show is that it's a really brief story, but there will not be a Han Solo trailer at the Super Bowl. So we still don't know when we're getting that trailer for Solo. I'm getting a little bit more concerned about this movie.
Are you?
Yeah. The promotional machine that exists. Well, we got a Super Bowl. Well, we didn't get a Super Bowl ad, but we got. This is when it should be kicking in for Solo.
When is Solo?
May.
May? Oh. We're on January?
Yeah.
4 months? We're what, four and a half months out?
Yeah. We're at the end of January.
You release it with Black Panther is when you release it.
Yeah, I guess yeah.
Black Panther is going to be huge.
It is, but we already have an Infinity War. Trailer at this
That's fine. Yeah. That's fine. Black Panther is going to be huge.
It is. Which, by the way, we need to go get our tickets. We have not bought our tickets yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's going to be massive.
Yeah, it is.
It's already the top grossing
Marvel
opening for a Marvel movie.
Yeah, it is.
And it's not going to go down anytime soon.
And that's one of the movies that, like Last Jedi, I didn't feel the hype was overselling it. And I'm sure there
hasn't been. I have not felt oversaturated with Black Panther promotional stuff yet. Yeah. It's been very kind of traditional.
Yeah.
A little bit here, a little bit there. You see it, but it's not like a Will Ferrell movie where you're like, okay, I get it, dude. You got a movie coming out. So I think that's probably where we'll see it. Yeah. That's where I would put it. That's where I would put it if I were Lucasfilm.
Yeah, that's true. I guess it's true.
It's cheaper to put it there than it is on the Super Bowl.
Yeah, then absolutely, that is absolutely true.
It only gives you only 2 weeks out.
Yeah.
So
that is soon. So we'll see.
Yeah. That's where I'd put it.
So, all right, so that's it for our news for today. Let's get into TV, and we'll actually kick off with what we forgot to do last week, and that's the Gifted finale. We had a special 2-hour finale for the Gifted, and we got some big things
we really did.
Developments.
We really did.
Which is in an already action-packed season.
Yeah, this has been a really fun show. This has been everything that I've never thought a Fox mutant show would be.
Yeah.
I'm shocked at how good it's been.
I'm just glad I was a believer in it from the very begining. I was an early adopter for this show.
I loved it. As soon as I saw the first episode, I loved it, but I didn't I remember when they were talking about, hey, we're going to do an X-Men show with these characters on Fox.
And I remember when you heard Bryan Singer was attached at one.
I was like, I don't know. Let's see. I mean, we'll keep our fingers crossed because that could go one of two ways.
Yeah.
And it went in a great way so far.
Yeah.
For a first season, it was a 10 out of 10 for me for a first season on Fox.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I wouldn't put it up there with like a Westworld or a Legion or anything like that.
It's still network TV, but
it was great.
It fits the expectations of network TV. It sort of scratches a little bit of the itch I had with, a show like 24 where you want some action.
Yeah.
Except it also has a little bit of, it does have some good, intelligent screenwriting along with it.
Yep.
That fits within sort of an X-Men itch as well. Like I'm fine if I don't get another
Didn't
X-Men.
rely heavily on a love triangle like every CW show does. it was fantastic.
Well, it was a solid family drama. Like the way that they marketed it was a family drama, and it really worked in that way in a lot of levels, and in all the characters. Family has been like, even their reveals now with the big bad. Like his family drama, like everyone's family drama is coming into play in terms of how they form their opinions of sort of the mutant issue.
Yeah.
And it becomes very interesting because even, Polaris and questions of who her family is are affecting that. So it's interesting that they have been very true to the way they've marketed this show. It wasn't like that wasn't just a tagline.
No.
That definitely it has been a running theme, and I think that's what makes this X-Men property feel a little bit more fresh than the approach we've had in previous adaptations, because I think like the X-Men the animated series and the majority of the Bryan Singer movies have really kind of focused in on the Malcolm X versus Martin Luther King sort of analogy that Xavier and Magneto kind of present. So, while that issue is present in this series, it doesn't, and you can't say it doesn't necessarily focus on it, but it has a fresher perspective than just the legislation and the team and the apocalyptic side.
Yeah, the timing of when this show takes place is genius. Like, because a lot of that stuff has already been laid. Like, is history in this show's timeline,
right?
And it's already established, so you don't have to deal with a lot of that already.
And it's almost like it's like that. You know how there's what's the perspective in history? Like there's the great man theory, like the idea that major figures are the ones that change everything, and that's what it feels like when you're watching some of those bigger movies,
right? And
those versions of the X-Men series. Whereas this one has a little bit more of like, okay, this is what the people on the ground level of that society, after the obviously after the fact of some of these events, are feeling. So I think that perspective does create a much more fresh version of the sort of traditional X-Men lore and stories that we've had. So
do we know when season 2's coming?
I mean, it's probably fall. I imagine. So
I was wondering if it was one of those shows that we're gonna renew it maybe after we find out what the deal is. So
they already renewed it.
They did renew it.
We did talk about that.
Okay, I couldn't remember if it was one that had been renewed.
It didn't get early renewal along with everything else, just because it seemed like they were waiting just to see what this meant with the Marvel and the Disney deal. But it was a couple weeks after that kind of sort of settled itself, and they said, we're going to have a second season. So I imagine they probably had some conversations with Disney and with ABC and all of that, just to kind of see how is this going to roll out? Do you guys still want this? Are we going to end it? Because I know Marvel is, it sounds like Marvel is ending a lot of their animated stuff right now. So
that's probably good.
Yeah, because they're not particularly great series right now that are out in terms of their animation. But it'll be interesting to see what's next for a lot of these other properties. I mean, there's not really a lot of I guess Fox has Legion and The Gifted, and that's kind of it, right? As far as superhero storytelling, it's not like there's anything from Sony. So those are the only two series, and both series are
doing well.
Yeah, doing really well. So I can't imagine that they're going to cut them anytime soon. So it'll be interesting to see how that continues to go and how that'll continue to coexist with the rest of the Marvel, with the Marvel universe. So, what are your thoughts? Anything stood out with you with any of the characters that you? What do you think of Polaris's arc in this?
I thought it was good. I thought it made sense. I thought they built that story smartly throughout the entire season. Her arc, the turn in these last 2 episodes wasn't such a shock where you're like, oh, I didn't see that coming. Like, where the hell did that come from?
Right.
Like, you saw it building, like, from even like the very early episodes when she gets captured and she's being tortured and stuff like that. Like it's built and it all makes sense. Like, they did a great job of tying everything together so that people's motivations made sense, which is really important to me in a show that I'm going to watch. Like, if people are going to do something, I want it to make sense.
Yeah.
That you're like, oh, I can, like, I don't, that's an awful thing to do, but I understand why they would do it.
Right.
So, and that totally happened here. And I think that's one of the things that keeps me coming back to the show is that, not only is it mutants and fun to watch, but everybody's decision making, even the twins, who I'm not crazy about, like, I don't really like them very much.
I can't imagine a lot of people do.
But their motivations and the way they're behaving, and it's a teenage boy and he's angry and he's frustrated versus his sister, who's a little more calm and collected and reasonable. Like, their motivations and their behaviors make sense all the way through this entire series.
Right.
The parents and how they're dealing with things. And you know what? This is what freaked me out. I was watching a behind the scenes thing or something like that. Some little quick short behind the scenes thing. He's English.
The dad?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's more disturbing than when you hear Rick from The Walking Dead talk.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was just like, what?
To me, that's still, Andrew Lincoln, it's still jarring to hear.
It was way worse. It was so much worse. I was so disturbed. I was like, well, that actually might ruin the show for me now that I know that.
I don't know why, but he looks American, even more
I
than
would have
Andrew Lincoln.
never guessed. Yeah, it's like Andrew Lincoln, you go, okay. All right, he's Australian, or he's British, isn't he? Yeah. And I was like, but this guy, like, I had never thought in a million years that he was. I was like, they're taking all of our jobs, all of them, all the nerd jobs they're taking.
Which, by the way, Andrew Lincoln, I don't know if we ever talked about it, but he said that he wanted to be, like, as far as like his dream list for a job, he says he wants to be a Jedi at some point, or he wants to be in Star Wars at some point. So
make it happen. Make it happen.
I'd love him as Revan.
Oh, that's an interesting casting choice.
Yeah. I think he'd be a great, great Jedi.
Great Jedi.
Yeah.
Coral. Use the Force. Coral.
I'd love to see him in Rian Johnson's trilogy. I'd be pretty excited to see him there. Yeah, I know it's not Old Republic. Yeah. I know it's not Revan, but
who knows what we're getting? Yeah. Yeah, that could be good.
Yeah. So I know that's a total side thing. So let's jump over to superhero stories. Let's go over to the CW TV universe.
Okay.
Black Lightning, episode 2.
Oh, so check this story out.
Yeah.
So, I'm sick all week. I have the flu. I have like these temperatures things, and I get a temperature of like 102 degrees, and then it breaks, and you just like drenched in sweat from the temp breaking. So I go downstairs at like 4:30 in the morning because I've been not sleeping for like 3 days straight, right? And I'm like, all right, well, I know I got the podcast on Monday. I'll be better by then. Let me just make sure I'm up to date on everything. So I start watching Black Lightning. Yeah. Well, I guess it woke Aiden up along the way, right? So I hear the pitter-patter of little feet upstairs, and he comes running down the stairs to be with me. I'm like, come here, buddy. And I'm like, just watching Black Lightning. And he walks in right at the scene where the two chicks are just in their underwear, just making out. And I'm like, all right, well, Dora it is. So he and I watched Dora for an hour, and Diego. And I was like, oh, this is not family-friendly TV.
No, it's not.
There's nothing family-friendly about Black Lightning. Black Lightning is honestly kind of what I expected Luke Cage to be.
The music, especially this episode,
so good.
So good.
So good.
Are you still having handcuffs with the costume?
Oh, I hate the costume.
I actually kind of like the costume.
I hate that costume.
I think it's so ridiculous. I love it. Because it is. I feel like I'm watching Black Dynamite. I really do, and like a serious Black Dynamite, and it's fun. And then like a gritty version of it.
Black Lightning, my man. He opens the door.
I know, like they have moments like that.
Funny.
You know, like
So
I'm surprised. Like the scene in Black Dynamite where the guy in the background runs off to create Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles.
Yeah.
Like I'm surprised that kind of stuff isn't happening in this show.
I feel like it happened in the original story that they told.
Probably.
And then, you know, and
they were like, okay, guys, here's the updated version.
Yeah.
But you know what? This scratches a little bit of that same itch that I've been missing with
Blaxploitation. Oh,
well, yeah, it is Blaxploitation, but I mean that like a Luke Cage series that's a little bit closer to the tone.
Yeah,
you know, like
it really is.
Yeah, it is very.
It
much
is the
that.
Luke Cage story that I kind of hoped that we had gotten.
Yeah,
and you know, and not that I didn't know I was disappointed in Luke Cage until I watched Black Lightning.
Yeah, like I just realized like, oh, there was
so much more they could have done. There was so much further they could have gone.
And don't get me wrong, I still really like Luke Cage.
I love that first half of Luke Cage.
Yeah, and I still like thematically the end of Luke Cage. Like it has issues and some pacing problems and you know some action problems at the end. But other than that, like I still really like Luke Cage a lot. But I'm really enjoying Black Lightning.
This is so good. I'm shocked at how good it is. I was talking to a guy at work who's a fellow nerd, and I was like, "Have you been watching Black Lightning?" And he was like, "Yes,
hell yeah,
hell yeah." And it is, you know. And he's like, "It's dark. Like they're dealing with some like real adult stuff right out of the gate, and it's nice. Like I didn't expect Lulu to kill that kid." Like that, I was shocked by it. I was like, "Oh well, that kid's gonna be around for a while." Blah 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 blah. Nope. Bang. Lulu out of the game already. I mean, like it is quick. Like they're
the mom. Was killed.
Oh my goodness, I did not see that one coming either.
I didn't either. I really didn't think that was gonna happen.
And I was like, "Wait, are we still watching the CW?"
Yeah. I had to check. I was like, "Am I on the CW website right now?"
Like this feels like a Netflix show.
Yeah.
This feels more of a Netflix show than Luke Cage did.
Yeah. And I'm really surprised. Like I'm maintaining what I said last week. I'm glad that right now this isn't crossing over into the others.
I agree.
You know,
I agree.
Give it its time to develop. Like later on, if you want to cross it over, fine.
Yes.
But let these characters develop on their own a little bit before we kind of try to spin them into the rest of the universe.
I agree. I think you let this one give it this whole season. Start next season, do your mid-season crossover event.
Yeah.
That brings everybody together. And I have a whole Arrowverse theory on how I would actually do that.
Do you want to? Should we get through the rest of the Arrowverse, or do you want to give your theory?
It's a theory. So I would do that. I would continue your plans through the rest of this season. Next season's mid-season crossover event and I would mark Arrow as like next season is their last season.
Yeah.
You got to end that show. I think you've done.
Ratings are continuing to drop.
I think you've done pretty much all you can do with those characters at this point. So I would plan on doing away with that show, but let's give it a good send-off along the way. Let's give it a real riveting send-off. So you have something happen in the mid-season event that makes everybody come together to either find Ollie's gone missing, or something's happened to Oliver, so that everybody's got to come and fight either the Thinker, which I think would be a great one, or Thinker and Damien Dark together, or something like that, or whoever is helping Damien. Do that so that you have a reason. Like, oh my God, you can then spend the rest of the second half of the seasons, everybody trying to come together and working together on each other's shows, trying to figure out and save Oliver for a big season finale on Arrow that ends the Oliver story.
Yeah.
Okay, one way, either he's alive, he's dead. It doesn't matter, but it ends that show. Yeah, that's that particular series.
That'd be cool. I'd like that.
And also introduces along the way through that process Green Lantern Corps.
It's not gonna happen.
This is what I would do, because Stephen Amell has got to be demanding a ton of money to be doing that show, right? And so does everybody else who's been on that show. Like they've all been, so you have a ton of money just going into a lot of actors, because that cast is huge now. You've got 17 people on Team Arrow at this point in time. So just take all that money and put it into an effects budget for the Green Lantern. And you can make that show work. You can make that show work.
Yeah.
Look at how the effects are pretty good and pretty heavy on Black Lightning.
not as heavy as a spacefaring like adventure.
It's not as they did it for the Next Generation like 20 years ago, dude. It's not that hard to do, and that was a UPN show.
With light constructs added on top of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Technology has improved. It's cheaper to do stuff like that. You could afford to do it.
Yeah.
You could totally afford to do it. Like, yes, you wouldn't go.
Stop playing with my heart.
Wouldn't go crazy with the light constructs.
Yeah.
Like, but I mean,
See, the problem is talk like this is just playing with my heart.
But I can't take
this anymore.
But I think it's the right move then for that. Like, if you're gonna end Arrow,
yeah,
you've got to replace Ollie with somebody fairly important from the DC universe. Yeah. And the person that makes the most sense is Hal Jordan.
Don't go breaking my heart.
and honestly, at this point, like, DC is floundering so badly in their movie universe. Like, what are they holding on to of, like, saying, no, you can't play with these characters? Like, they've already said the worlds are completely separate. You've got 2 Flashes. You've got 2 Barry Allens already.
Yeah.
What's the point? Like, why not turn Green Lantern into a TV show?
Trust me, you don't have to sell me on this.
I shouldn't have to sell anybody on this. This is a great idea. You and I should be show running and writing this show. This is really what I'm doing is I'm pitching this to anybody who will listen. So if you know anybody in the industry that can get us this show, we're happy to take a meeting.
Right. Ooh. All right, let's move on through the shows. Supergirl. We had an interesting episode with Supergirl. It was a good episode. They went to another location where she had to bring some of her villains along because she was going to be depowered in this location. So, sort of like she needed help from people she's fought before. It was an interesting story, but a little bit more of an episode where it was like, all right, they just need to like do a little bit more like building. They're rebuilding towards a climax again now. So we had that. Flash was I enjoyed this episode too.
It was okay.
Yeah, it wasn't as good as the previous episode, I think. But
that's because it was featuring mostly what's his name?
Plastic Man.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. I guess he's the elongated man now.
Elongated man. Yeah. It's just so stupid.
Yeah.
And everybody knows it's not going to stick. But it's not. I mean, he's not my favorite, but they're working hard to push him so that they can get him on Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah,
that's really where he belongs.
It does really feel that way, doesn't it?
It's really where he belongs.
Yeah. Although because he's a cop, it's kind of like he might stick around with. I think he's going to stick around with Team Flash a little bit longer. Just because it's a different power set, and. Now that like they have a pretty good team now with Killer Frost, Vibe, Plastic Man, and then once Barry gets out of prison again, you got a Speedster again.
Yeah, that's a hell of a lineup.
Yeah, I mean it works for the kind of threats that they have in Central City, I guess. Right?
I guess. I mean, it's a lot of power sets when you consider like, all right, well, Team Arrow is a guy who shoots a bow and arrow.
Well, we got Black Canary.
And Black Canary screams.
Yeah. Now we have Mr. Terrific with his T-spheres.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. Trust me. They're really reaching. And we have Diggle with his crazy helmet.
His Black Needle helmet.
Yeah. He had a crossbow this season.
Ooh.
When he was pretending to be Oliver. So, yeah.
Wow. Nobody figured it out. They were like, that looks like a black guy with a crossbow. That's
not
the same guy. That's him. He was wearing green hood.
It was funny because the story kind of was like, well, they're going to notice if you go around with a gun, so let's give you a crossbow. And nobody's going to notice you're black, but, whatever.
Yeah, that's complete. Yeah.
Because apparently Star City doesn't see color.
Yeah. It's a post-racial city.
So speaking of Arrow, yeah, they you know what, the thing that really works for me this season is I was really hoping I was surprised at how long they stretched the story with Oliver not being Green Arrow, but in the last couple episodes he's back to being Green Arrow.
Of course he is.
And they've split the team up, like they're now 2 separate teams because they're tired of Oliver lying to people type of thing. So again, rehashing that story again. The thing that's holding it a little bit more now is Michael Emerson as a villain.
Yeah.
honestly, this should have been the third or fourth season.
Yeah.
Well, it just feels like the arc is just a little bit out of order. That some of the things that they've done in the past couple seasons, because one was good, it was sort of fresh and new. Like, sure, there's some weird stuff with it, but it's good overall. Season 2, great.
Yeah.
And then 3 is when they went, Ra's al Ghul and went way too far. That should have been the last season for Oliver. Like that, like once you decide, like once he becomes
decide you're
Ra's
gonna
al Ghul,
kill him and turn him into Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah, like that's kind of the apex right there.
Yeah, it should be. Yeah.
And then they took him into magic, and that's just not a place that Oliver should have ever gone into. It just never worked, like that. It just never felt right. So. It just felt so that's a season that shouldn't have happened right there, but
and now we're back to Central City threat, like local hometown threats, regular criminal.
Yeah, and it's, but yeah, and it's super hacker right now,
right?
Is who they're facing, which. By the way he's like taking out the city is just ridiculous. Like apparently he can weaponize all electronics. So like people touch touchpads and they die. Yes. It was honestly laughable to watch this morning.
Oh, that one hurts as somebody who deals with electronics. Like,
right? Like how do you
you can't.
Yeah.
You just can't.
Yeah.
You just can't.
But yeah, moving on from that, let's talk Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. What do you think of this episode?
I liked it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it. It was a fun ride.
You know what I think your problem is right now is your mind, like Luke Skywalker, is constantly on the future.
It is
in the present.
It is.
And I think you just need to stay present-minded with the show.
I do. It is a problem I have. I admit it. I'm constantly wondering, like, well, where is this going? Like, why are we doing any of this stuff? Like. They just keep pulling that taffy. Yeah,
they do.
They really just keep pulling the taffy for this show.
But I realized as I was watching it that I was like, oh, I'm really enjoying this. I don't know why Ben isn't getting this. And I was like, oh, that's because I'm just enjoying it for where it is right now.
Episode by episode. You're just, and it's good. It's fun.
But that does change your experience drastically.
It does. It does. Like because they keep the problem is they keep referring to it.
Yeah. So
like
they
keep bringing it up. They keep bringing it up instead of just being in the moment. Yeah. They keep bringing it up, going, oh, hey guys, you don't know what's going on. You don't know I know I don't know what's going on. 9 episodes into this season, I don't know what's going on. Yeah. What the hell? Like, just tell me what's going on.
Oh, yeah. I'm happy with it.
I think I would enjoy it more if they just stopped teasing that you don't know what's going on.
And let it be a mystery, but just not draw attention to it.
Yeah. I think
You know what, though? That's kind of hard, though. Like, you see that title and you see the earth shattered. You kind of like that image alone is like, I wonder what made that happen. Yeah. That's a tough one.
It is, but at least 4 times an episode.
You get a teaser.
Yeah, but like before every commercial break, there's somebody saying, "Oh, hey, Quake, the breaker of worlds. You're the one who caused this problem. Yeah. You know what you did. You know what you're gonna do." Yeah. Like, okay, like we get it. Like every episode, every commercial break, I'm like, oh my god, like. Either tell us or don't. Like, Well,
we got a little bit of an interesting reveal on it. Like, there was a flash of light, apparently, an alien invasion that preceded the events. So...
I still say it's Thanos.
It's sounding like it.
Yeah.
It really is sounding like it.
Yeah.
So, that flash of light portal.
Yeah.
Like...
Alien invasion.
I mean, we see his alien army in the trailers. So... Yeah. It really feels like it's going to tie in with Infinity War.
I don't see how it doesn't.
Yeah.
I will be so shocked and almost disappointed if it doesn't at this point. If you're doing all this and stretching this taffy this thin on network television for it not to tie into Infinity War, I'll be shocked.
Especially if Thanos is successful and he breaks the world at the end of this first movie, and that's how we are left at the end of that first movie.
Yeah,
like that's a pretty cool way to go.
I want to see that. Yeah. I want to see that.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm excited about that. What would be the ultimate disappointment though is if this ties into the Inhumans.
At this point, yes.
Yeah.
At this point, we don't want
It's
that.
like all of a sudden, like, and Quake teamed up with Black Bolt.
God damn it. Yeah, that'll be bad. The only thing I missed from the Inhumans is the dog. This
Right,
Lockjaw.
yeah,
Lockjaw
would be
was
awesome.
was great. I would love to see Lockjaw again. The rest of them, though.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's about it for TV, and I think that's it for today's episode as well. So
Oh, shout out though to our boy Hans.
oh yeah, that's right. So you've been quiet, you know.
Yeah, well, I've also been almost dead.
Yeah, even if you were dying,
Dude, I was
you would be
thinking
trash
about
talking
what was
like
gonna
crazy.
be on my tombstone.
Yeah.
Well, the week before, I totally forgot to set my lineup.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
Well, I did too, actually, because I was out of town. So we
both forgot. So this week I did set my lineup. I
Yeah.
did not do well.
Yeah.
But Hans did great. He came in
did.
first.
Yeah, I came in third this week, so
Congratulations.
this is my first time separating from you a little bit.
Congratulations.
Like up until now, like,
We've been, like,
back
neck to neck,
back,
yeah.
and usually me below you. So
Congratulations
Yeah.
on your first week ahead of me.
yeah, so I was proud of that. Even
Good
if I
job.
didn't beat everyone.
No, you beat me. That's
That's
what I
where-
came in sixth or something like
Yeah,
that.
it was
which
not
is
good.
well,
Yeah.
it's only 3 below third.
Yeah. still not third.
It's not third. I didn't medal.
So let us know what you think about everything we talked about today, the news stories, the episodes we talked about. You can join the conversation on our social media. Just go to our website, certainpov.com. And you can also join our Fantasy Movie League there if you want to pick movies along with us and sort of set your theater lineup week to week. Again, all of that is on our website, certainpov.com. And until next time, stay scruffy, my nerf herders.
Let's go get some nacho fries.